I revealed my fiancés and sisters to seat at the wedding altar. They intended to destroy ended up being their downfall. My hotel is located in one of Boston's most well-known businesses as a 45-year-old woman. I've risen to from the reception area to my present role, devoted to the previous 20 years of my life to this company, which started as a work to support my sister while our parents are away. Died has become a part of who I am. My success and my refuge in a terrible world that creates moments for preparation, encounters, and ensuring that the visitor senses the coziness and have arrived to define our brand. A component of running this hotel, not only monitoring events or maintaining standards, and 3 years ago, we got our 5th star upon my supervision of the rebrandings, restorations, and even a complete overhaul of the service. The employees' philosophy is similar to many of my family members have been with me for they've seen me for over a decade. Transform from a youthful, nervous supervisor to someone people have faith in and respect. Assisted me in overcoming the challenges of taking care of my sister Rachel, who is 35, covering for her in school when she needed me activities, or when attempting years of adolescence when she struggled to deal with our parents' absence, even though, at the moment, Rachel works at a local cafe. Our bond has consistently transcended sisterhood. I was only 25 years old, beginning my curriculum of management training, put abruptly in charge of a youth of 15 who were devastated when our parents died in that terrible catastrophe. I become her sister, mother, and best friend. Her welfare was my top priority all at once. Importance in each decision I made, and all of the promotions I applied for at our haven were, Rachel would finish her stay at the motel. During school, I completed my schoolwork in my office. Pauses while speaking with the cleaning personnel, and learning French from our knowledgeable concierge while as she grew older, she would help at the front desk during busy periods, and our regular guests adored her for her innate attractiveness in spite of the challenges. We were able to put a life in those years. Coming together from the fragments of our fractured family, romance never piqued my curiosity. Dating seemed like an additional burden between overseeing the hotel and ensuring Rachel included all she required. Brief dalliances with the industry meetings and occasional dinners with business partners, but nothing that never seemed worthwhile to pursue my workers. Would joke that they were putting me up, but every time I refused, I would let them know that the hotel and Rachel were my children. Was my spouse when Ethan, then 43, arrived 3 months ago at our motel. Everything altered his perspective. Everything immediately made him stand out, not just due of his personalized suit or his silent assurance that most our wealthy guests were too busy using their own phones or importance to give careful consideration to Ethan observed their surroundings. He complimented the subtle lighting that took me months to get it just right. We maintained the vintage molding throughout, repairs, and highlighted the new. When checking in, there were flowers in the foyer. Claimed that your attention to detail is, amazingly, his eyes were staring straight entering my eyes, despite the fact that I've remained in among the hotels worldwide. This one is distinctive. You can feel the idea that explains those comments in full. Made me feel something because they acknowledged the hotel's consideration and work in addition to its aesthetic appeal. When he asked about restaurants in the area, I discovered that I was providing not just the standard recommendations as well as my own individual selections for the undiscovered treasures I found late at night, walks after really difficult days. We appeared to have fallen into a natural pattern during his 3-night. He would come for a visit following his meetings, returning each evening to the lobby lounge, where he was perfectly situated to start a conversation with me at any time. I passed by, and he asked shrewdly regarding my work experience, the hotel's history, and my aspirations for the future. Ethan, were genuinely intrigued by each detail, as opposed to the majority of visitors who consider these conversations to be just curious rather than following the norm. His final morning at corporate checkout, he left a note in hand that said, "Your excitement for the location is motivating. How about we continue during our dinner talk?" He gave me his personal phone and stated that he was aware of I wanted to maintain relationships. Professional, I could do so much more. I questioned whether or not to love learning, to spend hours texting him when Rachel arrived. That afternoon, she came into my office and observed that I was busy and that I had to view the message, "You must give him a call." Happier than I had ever seen her in years, she said, "When was the last time you occasioned that someone genuinely made the effort to learn more about you than just your work?" After that first, everything changed. "Supper that reflects my passion for hospitality," Ethan said with fervor. Regarding his employment in investment banking, "I was watching the beautiful dance of running a high-end hotel," he clarified. "Intricate financial strategies in a sense that gave them an artistic quality." Heard me bring up my folks. With genuine empathy, giving his personal months of sorrow and resilience stories passed, and our relationship expanded more quickly than I should have been worried. But Ethan made everything appear commonplace, even inevitable. Always considering the preferences, he would surprise me by being one of my employees. During his work lunch, he displayed a remarkable ability to remember every little detail I had mentioned Rachel during our weekend. Trips, even stopping by to offer support and ask about her work. He told me something different at the cafe. One night while we were walking about, by now, the majority of individuals in the waterfront. "Your circumstances would be exhausted and jaded by spending so much time on oneself to their careers and family. But you succeeded in striking a beautiful balance between professionalism and genuine friendship in search of someone who truly recognizes the significance of creating experiences for other people. Is unusual after 2 months of our connection during a private meal at an elegant dining establishment with a view of the harbor. The ring was made. The proposal was precisely what I would have chosen. I'm sophisticated without being ostentatious." As he knelt beside our table and spoke to Ethan regarding building a future together as a quartet of strings played melodiously in the wind. "When you come into someone who shares your convictions and dedication to greatness, why wait? This seems to be," he acknowledged quickly, "letting me be a component of your universe and help you with constructing something even more amazing compared to what you have previously done." When Rachel found out she was getting engaged, her response was one of weeping streaming down her cheeks while she looked at me. Finally, she gave someone a firm embrace. Worthy of you, I was truly moved by her enthusiasm as she entered herself into the preparation of our wedding. We stayed up late discussing details and exchanging goals and desires, like though we were teenagers, for the future. The wedding preparations moved again. Going forward, I am deserving of being the attention getter for the first time in my life. Ethan so insisted on hosting a grandiose. He was consoling throughout the celebration when I expressed worries about the costs of his. The idea was to pool our resources. I put money aside for our future and honeymoon. You saved the house for my wedding. Rachel, we are now a part of ERS, demanded to manage a large portion of the wedding preparations so I could focus. Regarding running the company, she oversaw the samples of guest list setup and spoke with suppliers in a level of effectiveness that reminded me of "You've taken care of everyone, including me. Otherwise," she said for a long time, "let me take care of things for you on the silent phone." Discussions that abruptly ended when I glanced in the door from time to time. Between Rachel and Ethan throughout our family meals and the unexpected coincidences of their encounters. Other when I was busy with my job. Among the ranked emergencies are signs that I decided to disregard. Yesterday, everything collapsed when Ethan quickly left for what he said was. He quit his job to attend an essential customer meeting. left my phone at home, and arrived at my job to talk about the final wedding arrangements. The screen was illuminated with notifications as the cell phone kept vibrating with inbound messages that I didn't want to read. Yet I saw a sneak peek at a message that I'm so excited for tomorrow, sweetheart. Won't understand what happened to her. Rachel was the sender I used to answer the phone. Hands shaking, no password security, he didn't anticipate me seeing it. Later on, I realized that my world was utterly shocked by what I learned. They treated hundreds of men who were dating. Months before I had even laid eyes on Ethan. In a preliminary exchange, Ethan written, "She's ideal for our hotel plan. Manager significant savings without any actual interpersonal background in addition to her trust. You had even more, Rachel. Terrible responses that she consistently provides. A great deal of work to take care of me. She didn't start a personal life. Everything will be far too simple." They had planned it, but it wasn't by incident where Ethan arrived at the Rachel had told him everything at the motel. About me, including my preferred wines and my regular, chance-based meetings. Every sincere conversation had been carefully planned. But their affair was just one facet of Ethan's profession that is true. As an unsuccessful investment banker, he bought his with credit cards. Luxury lives up to his claims of an extravagant future weren't real, and his stories about "I was his" and financial triumph was made up. His lifeline while he drowned in debt. The real plan was revealed by the messages: "Make use of my money to have a lavish wedding," followed by the ceremony unexpectedly revealed there. They would ridicule me in there before my pals, coworkers, and workers, and I would have to put up with the repercussions. Using what remained of my money would disappear in some way. As I read, something else attracted my eye. Through their notes from she knew Catherine, Ethan's legal wife, who he really was, in contrast to me, disagreements over outstanding invoices, child support, as well as his obligations from gambling. Now, as the light is on, filled their cheeks, increasing the amount of deep coverage at my job. Shadows. My makeup and hair team will be. Rachel is scheduled to arrive here in a few hours. Be there in the capacity as the mom of honor and a faithful sister. One more thing I found in their correspondence is that Ethan is probably going to be honing his promises that I now understand were taken from romantic movies to get ready for his location's part in this fraud. FL hour and catering for this wedding wiped out all of my life savings. Spent the last 20 years saving while bringing up Rachel and sending her to college and supporting her as she works toward her goal of having her own cafe, but an odd. As I sit here, a sense of calm has come over me. Observe the early morning light here. Across the hotel lobby, I danced. Had dedicated their lives to what they thought they were, deceiving me and using me. My trust and affection, but they didn't recall that I wasn't gullible enough to. In my current position, I've overseen one of the most prestigious hotels in Boston for 20 years, and during that time, I've discovered how to handle crises and change, turning obstacles into chances and more. I've been playing the long game. The phone for the last few hours in order to my attorney, who has worked hard, recording everything and getting ready for necessary judicial action against Catherine, who must find out who her husband is. Conspiring, as well as to the hotel security staff, who have consistently been more than simply workers, are like family to me. Chosen, and they have already taken some action of a completely other kind today. Ceremony is scheduled to occur in the magnificent ballroom where I have organized numerous faultless weddings for others. Ladies, every detail will help me. They want to use everything against me. Will proceed according to plan, but not in the manner in which they had hoped, including the 300 guests, the pricey decor, and the carefully planned timing. I receive a little depressed upon seeing the bridal gown hanging in my office as a result of the dreams it represented, but the fantasies were founded on fictitious knowledge, and I've always appreciated severe truths over beautiful lies in front of all of the people I know and respect. Rachel, and Ethan was planning to create a situation that would remain in my mind. Their objective was to create a spectacular wedding day. I've spent my whole professional life preparing occurrences that are flawless, and this one won't be. Anything else won't go according to plan. Tomorrow, Ethan and Rachel are going to get just what they desired, a memorable wedding. After everything, I've discovered a crucial lesson in my 20s. Years spent managing hotels. Even though the customer isn't always correct, they always obtain the benefits to which they are entitled. The city is now depicted in gold hues, as now that the sun is completely up, it's time to get all set for the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity performance. They thought they were the directors of the show, but they will discover who is in charge of this establishment as opposed to them. I never failed to provide my viewers with an update. Catherine arrived at my hotel in the morning. Office, she pulled out a pile of books. Documents such as proof of Ethan's loans, debts, and overdue child support. He had removed employing their common assets as collateral. She was a calm woman in her early 40s who has a serene intensity that was similar to mine. She placed the papers on my desk and mentioned that he's been carrying out this elaborately for years. Reports about his targeting of riches, prosperous females, but this is the first. When he collaborated with a co-conspirator, I highlighted Rachel's participation and her. The next hour, the voice became a little strained. Was dedicated to reviewing mails and different timings. The gaps in my Catherine's discoveries were packed with record. Ethan had a consistent trend of excessive purchases made with credit cards, luring women, then disappearing with their funds, and Rachel's participation, which was the one thing that increased his legitimacy, something that had changed this time. That my attorney arrived and reviewed. All of the stuff we gathered isn't. She clarified that she has already committed fraud, created urgent requests to freeze accounts, and halt any efforts to transfer money while claiming a conspiracy, and with proof of their intended. We can add emotional distress to public shame. Discomfort to the charges that they both kept sending messages all morning long. Rachel said via text that she was delighted to choose up the flowers with a funny sense of worry. Ethan's voice when he made 2 calls to talk about last-minute arrangements the encounter seemed like a fresh betrayal. When I stayed silent instead of responding, a discreet and silent briefing has been provided. To the hotel employees, the goal of the purpose of security cameras is to capture all disguised as police officers or service personnel. Officers have been discreetly positioned. They are waiting all over the hotel. My crew is ready to start working right away, as soon as the fraud evidence is released. Catherine provided more information on their union, as well as how Ethan would disappear for months at a time and then return with a lengthy explanations and commitments to change for. She has been gathering evidence for years, waiting for the best moment to act. It was similar to giving her the final piece of the puzzle she had been trying to finish when I got in touch. The makeup artists said on her final night, an hour ago in my own suite, in a seeming attempt to work with Rachel and Ethan for their outstanding performance, sent a sweet SMS saying she would be late. Reminder of the speed at which imaginations may. The bridal garment has been transformed into a weapon. Waiting for Ethan's parents to arrive. When they first arrived, they were unsure about what the reporters I spoke with were actually their son. Attempted to pose as a wedding. Photographers keen to document each and every. Ethan won't be aware of this moment. The presence of Catherine until the perfect time because she will be occupying the front seat. Row, the necessary documentation has been ready for immediate action, as outlined by her attorney. The regularity of Rachel's communications is growing, and there's a hint of anxiousness in them. Are you okay? Asks, you appear aloof if it weren't. The irony of her concern would be so awful that be amusing. This is the outcome of 2 decades of sisterhood, but not with the intention of they meant for the place to be turning into the optimal stage, rather than each specifics about how they want to humiliate me would serve as the backdrop for their publicity. When I gaze at my own image, I notice someone in the office window who has dominated pandemonium for decades. Instead of a victim, they thought they were preparing the perfect con, but they would quickly learn who was truly responsible for this operations update. Only the makeup artist has now finished her work. This isn't the ceremony for getting married. Every brushstroke was just what I had imagined. Acts as a reminder that my mirror shows. Flawless makeup application and contouring, they anticipate that I look just like a blushing bride when Rachel finally arrived. She hurried into with an armful of flowers in the bridal chamber, and that fake smile I'm seeing now. She obviously gave me a hug with what appeared to appreciate genuine warmth, and mentioned that you appear. How long has she been this gorgeous? Adept in portraying herself as I saw her she began to tinker with my glass. Come and discuss last-minute matters. As her gaze locked with mine in the mirror, it's shocking, she said, that my at last big sister is getting married. You are deserving of this joy because all of your assistance to me. If it weren't her performances so heartbreaking, bravado would look amazing all day. The texts that Ethan has been sending are painstakingly designed to maintain his facade all the way to the finish, like you can't. I'll see you soon, my darling, and a few more hours till eternity starts, according to his latest correspondence with. My parents are thrilled that I'm joining them. Their family in the enormous ballroom of the hotel has undergone planned renovations with 300 seats strategically positioned with crystal, white roses and dazzling chandeliers everywhere, yet only a small number of members of my group is aware of what is truly likely to occur, but they operate fast. Ethan won't go through the preparations. Take note of Catherine before it's too late, since she is already in her place, quietly seated in a corner with a few. Her lawyer arrived just minutes earlier. Using documentation, the police officers who are posing as staff members having confirmed their identities, but Rachel never ceases making an effort to spend meaningful. Do you remember the time you spent with me? We invested time in organizing your wedding as kids while she made adjustments to my attire, and she is right in one way. Without a sure, people will remember this more. Compared to those youthful dreams, this is better than we could have ever imagined. I may observe guests entering through the window of the suite. People I've met recognized for many years as colleagues from the hotel industry, as well as some of my regular guests who have become like relatives. They're all dressed in wearing their finest clothes in anticipation of love celebration instead. They'll see Ethan's other event in the entryway. Parents are embracing guests, and the father is ecstatic with his son's thriving investment company there. The world is about to collapse, precisely as completely as mine did yesterday. The string quartet is preparing and the wedding march is being practiced. Will never reach its usual conclusion. I recently got confirmation from my legal counsel that ensures everything is set up properly shortly after Ethan and Rachel act. A string of unforeseen circumstances will first. Rachel remains the devoted sister by helping me put on my shoes. She questioned, "Are you?" as she clasped my palm. Uneasy, I managed a little smile upon realizing how well she understood the gravity of what was about to occur. It's typical to remain silent before such a significant event. We have half an hour before the ceremony begins. The wedding coordinator claims that Rachel excused herself due to a recent signal. Ask about a couple things, probably to complete the arrangements with Ethan today. I'm alone in the bridal suite with everyone around me, by the relics of what should have. It was the happiest day of my life. In 30 minutes, kids will learn how explained why they were afraid of my attention to. I began with update 3. Descending the stairs as the wedding march began, and Ethan fulfilled his part. As the prosperous and charming groom, emotionally charged, He stood at the altar. The situation momentarily mirrored that they had planned a fairy tale ending. Rachel is still wearing her maid of honor to ruin. Honor attire appeared as I was. She apologized halfway to the altar. However, I can't allow her voice to continue. Flawless reverberating over the floor. Ethan and I's ballroom's acoustics. I am carrying his child, Love. The gasp of the audience was exactly what they hoped for Ethan's as anticipated. The expression transformed from one of shock to gloom to that of an apologetic romantic partner. I acknowledged that they had engaged in this. When their breathtaking surprise had been carefully set up, Ethan remarked, approaching me, "Grace, you've been kind to us." But my voice was very polite and unambiguous when I gestured to the back of the space and the large screens that were utilized. "Let me make the wedding photos come to life. Manage the notifications from this location. Careful planning and the planned." The jokes about my confidence are deceptive, and their premeditated treachery were all seen in enlarged form. Catherine received. She rose from her seat and entered carefully. The orientation of Ethan's altar. Her face went white as she said, "Hello." Her voice pierced the shocked, "Lovely. I'm a little shocked to see your wife here." Another wave of gasps was heard when the word "wife" echoed throughout. The police officers in the ballroom, who had been posing as staff members, took their locations with documents in hand. An attorney presented financial data began to slide on the checks for fraud, theft, and complexity. Ethan Thompson, the plan they had developed. Tell the lead detective that you are being detained on grand theft accusations. Miss Rachel, deception and plotting. Please stay put, Anderson. Rachel's expression completely collapsed. A confident grin turned to one of apprehension. Reached out to me and begged, "Please, Grace. You don't comprehend what he stated once. We would be together if we had your money." I finally let out my anger by saying once, "If you had my money, you too would flee. Begin a new life using the money I gained during your upbringing." When Ethan tried to get away from hotel security, guards were ready at every exit. Closed, his dad stood up and made a demand. Responses: he was given copies of the proof of his son's corrupt history and the list of women who were duped rather than. In response, Ethan's assets were placed on hold and he was served with divorce papers as the police carried Catherine's attorney. Ethan is being handcuffed by the guests. Watched Rachel remain in startled silence, tears streaming down her cheeks without movement. She whispered, "What will happen to?" I replied, "It depends on this." She was led out by the district attorney. 2 officers out of the ballroom. The end of 20 was indicated by the click of handcuffs. Sisterhood for years. My hotel staff handled the chaos effectively, directing visitors to the lobby. In the middle of the flowers and ornaments meant to provide a totally other incident, I started to feel strange relaxed while I stood in the vacant ballroom. Later, even though the betrayal was still stung, but seeing it was kind of rewarding. Their carefully considered plan fails. Despite this, Catherine's case seemed solid. Rachel was helping the prosecution with this. Several courtrooms would be available where, in a month, justice will be served. Gone since the wedding, which never occurred as a result of both Ethan and Rachel, agreed to work with the prosecutors. Upon recognizing the power of the evidence in the judicial case against them, went ahead faster than expected. $50,000 in damages were awarded to me by the court, but obtaining it will be an entirely distinct tale. The judge's comments about their plans, intentionality, and the violation of family. Ethan's lack of trust was particularly extreme, facing criminal allegations in 2. Catherine's appeal and other states for child support that was retroactive was also successful along the entire process. Rachel tried several times to enter. "Contact me. I'm aware that I'll never be able to." She stated this in a single message, however. "Please, you are my only family." I deleted every message she sent me without responding to the sister I believed I knew. The one I grew up with didn't exist. According to Rachel, might be able to steer clear of my lawyer. Jail period by assisting the prosecution, although she is likely to still be obliged to undergo probation reparations that she used to discuss about hoping that I'll become an aunt someday. Consequently, the fact that she continues to carry. It seems like a terrible prank to Ethan's youngster. Again, but this time in a different manner. The hotel has become a haven for me. Truly impressed by my loyalty. Employees during the entire incident, they have put a protective shield around me. Rerouting circle responding phones. Trespassers and ensuring that I can focus on controlling what I do best. Word of this establishment spread swiftly. Regarding the arrests and the failed wedding that came after in the hotel industry, surprisingly, it has gotten better instead of. It takes a lot of strength to damage my reputation. To deal with such treachery with such decorum, one of my regular, Ethan's parents wrote a lengthy letter to clients. Conveyed their sorrow and shame that I declined their offer. Helping cover the cost of the wedding was never. The purpose of this is related to trust and family. I've already changed the planned enhancements, turning the honeymoon suite into a completely renovated. I've retained a business conference room in contact with Catherine to exchange information regarding Ethan's present legal troubles and providing assistance to each other's courts. Obstacles that she has transformed into a startling ally who actually understands. We're both aware of how dishonest he is. It's best to know the truth, she said. To me, regardless of how painful it is, the bridal gown is still hanging in my clothing. There is something that keeps me from making the ultimate choice to donate it, despite the fact that I should probably consider it to be a reminder of the things I discovered about myself. Strength instead of what I lost. The woman who bought that ensemble was extremely unsuspecting in her faith at this time. The owner, a woman, knows this. Therefore, I've maintained. Rachel's former room is prepared for her during the years, and her possessions remain intact. At last, I put everything in boxes and called a storage company yesterday. I sent it, and it will be retained for 30 days. I am my lawyer, and I gave her the facts. Whatever remains after that will be donated. The act of betrayal is no longer. The most challenging part about it's realizing the poisonous effects of 20 years of Rachel's memories have become. Performing a part all the time while waiting for the right time, or was every milestone commemorated with a Christmas photo. In our late-night conversation, I've been sincere. Went back to work, finding comfort in the standard hotel management procedures. All of my energy is being invested in new efforts, improvements, and my employees have noticed that I'm more attentive. More than ever, I was asked to present a crisis management presentation at a past week's hotel management conference. I hardly recognized the handwriting of Rachel. Upon examining her autograph on the settlement papers this morning however, I barely recognized her. 20 years later, after a few pen strokes, I lost the sisterhood when it ended. I was really tired of putting up with the repercussions of what actually happened to me, family, my workers, and loyal. Both the hotel and its patrons depend on me, and I just need to take care of myself. In 20 years, for the first time, I find myself considering Rachel and the child she is not yet born, carrying in my office late at night. However, I am certain that I made the right choice. Upon reflection of the messages I observed, the years and the deliberate treachery of deceit following the destruction of some bridges should remain ashes, I'm grateful for. If you haven't subscribed yet, watch. Kindly click the notification button. Bell will continue to provide more startling updates. Actual events taking place in your surroundings.